the Garmin 1040 Solar. I got over 200 kilometers on it now, and I wanted to give you my initial impressions on it and whether it's worth the upgrade. I'm gonna tell you right now, I paid over $1,100 with sales tax here in Canada. That's a hard $1,100 Canadian for this thing. It's a lot of money. First of all, I'm gonna tell you what I do like. I like the upgraded metal foot. The mount. I've had the tabs, these little mounting tabs on the previous Garmin devices break multiple times. And that's why I wasn't a fan of the quarter turn. But now that they have this, I do like it. And what makes this mount good is because the way you take it off is you have to turn it, obviously. And the fact that they have the buttons that you press during the ride on the bottom, when you're pressing those buttons, you're not pressing the device off of the mount like you are with the K2. When you press these bottom buttons on the side, if you press them too hard, it could push the device off the mount. No matter how hard you push the Garmin buttons, it's not going to push the device off the mount. And now that they've fixed the tabs breaking, I'm a fan of I like the quarter mount. So the first thing you're gonna notice with the Solar, the top of the screen, they have these little solar panels that you can see there. I'll put arrows. As you come up over the handlebars, you're riding, you come up out of the saddle. When you come up out of the saddle, you're coming forward, you're coming backward. And when you do that, and I found that a little distracting, the first ride or two, almost made me think the ride was paused for a second because they come off a little reddish. That's the first thought that came to mind. Oh, is the ride paused? Because your eye catches that banner because it's like a different color than everything else. Once I got used to that, no problem at all. The second thing that I noticed is it is faster. It boots faster, but most importantly for me, it pans the map faster. I found it incredibly frustrating on my 1030 Plus when I wanted to pan the map and look around where I was, see if I wanted to go to a segment or whatever. See if I wanted to go to a segment or where I was, or if there was a different road I can turn on. The map wouldn't move around quickly, and that's what I love about the K2. The GPS on the 1040 works much better because it's picked up my signal in my basement here, where the 1030 Plus is still stuck in Hawaii, where my wife last used this device. But I'm gonna pan on both maps and show you that the 1040 is faster. But you can see there's a bit of lag on the 1030 Plus, and I find it's different. I find when you're out on the ride using the device, sensors connected, mid-ride, it lags more. And we can obviously see the GPS. The GPS is more precise on the 1040 Plus. It's nice to have, but the only time I found it really a problem was like here. You go under a bridge or you're in a basement and the GPS doesn't connect. It looks like it connects just fine here in my basement. We'll double check it. We'll navigate to a dropped pin. Ride. Yeah, so it works. So
150 meters, make a U-turn.
So I don't know if you heard that. It's connected to my phone. I don't know if the 1030 Plus has done this recently with a firmware update, but when I've used the 1030 Plus last, it didn't do that. It didn't Bluetooth the verbal directions to my phone, where obviously the 1040 does. So that was something else that I noticed right off the bat, which is cool. And it is great if you're in an area you have no clue, you haven't ridden before, there's a lot of streets, you need to make sure you know exactly what street to turn on, because this actually tells you the name of the street, which I love. So you can look at the street sign, you can know that that's the street you're supposed to turn on, which is great. The K2 definitely doesn't do that, and I don't know if the 1030 Plus does do that. I haven't tested it recently myself, but let me know in the comments if the 1030 Plus does in fact give you the verbal cues. The K2 was my daily driver, but coming from the K2, one of the other things I noticed is this has the glass screen on this feels much better. The K2 almost feels plasticky. So when I need to wipe this, it's just much smoother. I know that's probably silly, but it's easier to clean this screen, and I find it's nicer to look at. Because it is glass, it does give you a bit of glare, and I think you could probably see right there, it does give you glare. And you don't really get that from the K2, but I find it is easier to see the data field like this on this device. But I really do like the new fonts that they're using, and they are bigger. You can see also the data fields are the font's bigger on the data fields. Now, I get a lot of questions why I use the tether. I wrap it around the handlebars. So that way, if something ever happens to the mount, and which I've had happen in the past multiple times, I was actually in a crit race years ago and I hit this huge pothole, and I was actually using one of these Bontrager mounts that I don't really like too much because they're plastic, and the mount broke off right in the middle here from hitting this big pothole. It cracked, and I didn't have the tether. It hit the ground. So every lap I'm looking at my 1030 on the ground. And needless to say, I pulled out of the race and grabbed it because it was just too much of a mind to look at that device every lap. And so ever since then, I started using the tether. And since then, it's saved my device a couple times, especially this when I've been testing out new mounts on the Karoo. And I really like Garmin's tether. I think it's really small, and I think they do a great job. And they attach it directly to the body, so you're not going to have any failures on the device side. So let's talk about solar, and is it worth the upgrade? I think yesterday I rode 3.5 hours and it said it gave me 40 minutes of battery time. I'm not gonna lie, it's cool. And it's nice to know if you ever need the extra battery life that you'll have it. But if you put this thing on power saver mode, you're gonna have enough battery for, 50 hours, they say 100 hours with solar on, see, the problem with the battery numbers is it depends on how many sensors you have, the screen brightness. There's a range. You could at least do a week's worth of riding on the non-solar version. You could at least get a week's worth of riding on one charge. So why do we need the solar? Why do we need to pay the extra money? And this thing is a god-awful amount of money for what it is. Is it an amazing device? Is it cool with the solar? 100%. I'm gonna be running it every day for the next little while to see if I get a feeling that the K2 calls me back in any way. The navigation on the Garmin, it's bar none. It's so precise. It tells you the names of the streets to turn on. It's much easier to follow the navigation on the Garmin than any other device I've used. And that's obviously a personal opinion, but in that aspect, it's great. And all the features that Garmin has, I mean, they have more features on this device than you could think of. I'm gonna do a later video where I go deeper into the device. I just wanted to share with you my initial impressions on the device and how I feel about it. Amazing device, a wacky amount of money, especially when you could get a K2 or you could get a 530 or even some of these, the smaller Garmins that would give you, that are great. This is like the Rolls-Royce Phantom of cycling computers. One of the things that Garmin does really well is connect with sensors. I find, the sensors connect immediately. They never drop out. It does a great job. But what's great is the Di2 connectivity. You get more features on the Garmin than you do the K2 when the K2 had the Di2 connectivity. Now, the Garmin is great. What I really like is it shows you have this feature, which it shows the battery level to my shifters, and I need to charge the Di2 system itself. So I really love having that detail and those batteries, because letting one of those batteries die on you is painful. Also, a little feature it has too is when you get to the bottom or the top of the cassette, that last gear, the Garmin lets off a little beep, which is, it's cool. Nice little feature. I notice it every time I hear it. I go, oh, that's cool. I do appreciate that, and I love having my Di2 features. I am really disappointed if you haven't seen my other video that Shimano couldn't come to an agreement with Hammerhead. I think that sucks. I think they should have figured it out somehow, and because at the end of the day, they're hurting everyday cyclists like you and me. If you have the 1030 Plus, or if you have the Karoo, is it worth the upgrade? No way. I can't say it's worth buying this device. If you've had an older device, like my friend was texting me, He's been running, I think, the 520, like the 520 plus. Yeah, and you got the money? Sure, you're gonna love it. It's great. You're gonna really like it. When you can have something that gives you everything you need for a fraction of the price, that's where you got to really consider it. Is it cool? It's got all the new cool stuff. 100%. Are you gonna like it? 100%. But is it worth it? I don't think so. I think you could spend that money on a whole bunch of other cool cycling stuff and get a lot more out of it. That's just my opinion. Hope you guys liked the video. Love you guys. Comment, subscribe, do all that stuff. It really helps me out and I really appreciate it. I'll see you guys on the next video. I'll see you soon. Bye.